Hi guys, hello, welcome to my channel. We're standing in front of my bookcase today because we've got a very exciting video. I was planning on doing something totally different, like a different type of reading vlog, like a more extended, long one, which we still will do, but I'm gonna do it next week because today is Wednesday. And I totally forgot that we're going into a holiday weekend. Tomorrow is the 4th. So I just need something fun and quick to read over the weekend, and I thought what better time to do a scavenger hunt to find said book. I've seen a few different people do this. Specifically, I've seen Ellen Catherine do it a couple of different times, and she was actually inspired by Riley Marie, who I've also seen do it like a long time ago. But again, I have seen a few other people do it as well. People like Books and Lala and then Maddie's Library. And the reason I'm kind of like specifically shouting out all those people, obviously to give credit, but also I literally watched one each of their videos this morning and collected all of the questions or like prompts that they used. And from that collection, I kind of like created my own list to follow. I will leave all of the prompts that I used down below if you're interested in doing this as well. So yes, that's kind of what's happening today. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are as well. Let's get started. Really quickly, actually, I do want to mention before we get started, I'm gonna be pulling books off of these 3 shelves on my bookshelf, which are basically all the books that I have already read. And then when it comes down to our very last book to pick, that's actually gonna be the one that we end up reading for the rest of this video. I am gonna be going over to my little mini bookcase, which I kind of like curated and picked specific books that I'm hoping will fit whatever we end up landing on, because those are the ones that I want to read the most. So that's kind of our game plan. Hopefully, I'm really hoping it works out. The very first prompt to start us off on this scavenger hunt, I am literally so excited. Our first prompt is a book that you gave 5 stars. There's actually a lot of books that I've given 5 stars to. This whole series. Daisy Darker was a good one. Maybe we'll pick that one because I'll be switching it up a little bit. I feel like I talk a lot about fantasy and romance books. I don't really talk about thrillers that I've read very often, namely because I don't really read that many, but we're hoping to change that this year. We're gonna go with Daisy Darker. I really enjoyed this book. This is one of the very first thrillers that I think I've ever read. I didn't really get into thrillers until near the end of 2022, which is when I kind of like got back into reading. It's basically a murder mystery where everyone is trapped on this island as a family, and one of the family members dies, their grandma, and they have to like figure out who it is. But there's also like a riddle that's like written on a chalkboard in the kitchen. It was so fun. I loved this book. I will say I did guess like the main big twist. There was a couple different ones. But it was still so good. So highly recommend this if you have not read it. Anyway, I'm gonna have to remind myself that this is not a review video, this is a scavenger hunt. Our second prompt is go to page 123, line 13, pick a word from that line and find a title with that word. And this is the one singular prompt that I think was across the board in all of the videos, but I tweaked it a little bit with like the page number and line number just to kind of make it a little bit different. So page 123, line 13. Ooh, too far. This is so fun already. All right, so we're on page 123 and then line 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't think she can, and I don't really believe that Lily is ... because it's continued on to the next line. We have words like says, think, she, can, believe, don't. I don't think don't is really in titles. I feel like this is gonna be harder than I was originally anticipating. I literally don't have a single book with any of these words. Okay, I've got some books like hidden behind other books. Not that that is helping me whatsoever. This is definitely gonna take me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so I'll just be back when I find a book because, yeah. I've decided to kind of switch up this prompt a little bit because I literally cannot find a single thing with she, can, really, Lily, like none of the words in this sentence are in any of these titles, which is absolutely insane. And the crazy thing is about this sentence, there isn't even like a the or an of in there to kind of like help me out. There is one and, like we barely have an and, but that's really it. And I also feel like it's kind of cheating. So again, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. So instead of like actually directly pulling a word from that sentence, I'm just going to read the entire sentence and pick a book with a similar vibe to the sentence. And I do already have one in mind. So the sentence fully is, I don't think she can, and I don't really believe that Lily is sorry at all. And the book that I feel like totally fits the vibe of that sentence is How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. This is literally about a woman who murders men and does not care at all. So here's our next book for our scavenger hunt. Let's pull up the prompt. Now my phone is almost gonna die, so this is going great, guys. and now I just choked on my spit. Cool. Prompt number 3 is find a book with a similar cover to this one. Ooh, all right. I mean, I have a similar looking cover idea, but it's in my books that I haven't read yet pile, so I kind of don't want to grab for that one. I do have this book. This is Memorial by Brian Washington, and it's got a very, very similar vibe. Like, these are, I mean, not identical, obviously, but like so similar. They're literally both fully orange with like a person on the cover, and they both also even have a little bit of humor to them. She's got some blood splatter on her skirt, but then also she's holding a coffee cup, but in her shadow, she's got like a knife. This one, as you can see, is also completely orange. It's got a person on the cover, and the person is kind of like wrapped like a little sushi. So we're gonna go with this one. Next prompt says, count the number of letters in the title and then pick a random spot on your shelf and count to that number book. All right, so count the number of letters in the title. Oh, this is a super short title. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, it's in cursive, so I was getting confused. Anyway, so we have 8. So I just need to pick a random spot on my shelf, and then we're gonna go here and then pick 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So A Touch of Malice. Let me put this back and then we'll grab that book. Here's our next book. Like I said, it is A Touch of Malice, which is the 3rd book in the Touch of Darkness series. And let's see what our next prompt is. Our next one is reverse the page count and find a book with a similar page count. Okay, so let's see how many pages this has. This book does have some like bonus content, but we're not going to include that. And I am going to like try to cover the end just in case there's any spoilers. And as you can see, we have 442 pages in this book, which means I need to do 244 pages. 244. It's kind of a weird number. I feel like I should probably be able to like look this up, but we're just going to find a book that looks similar to it and go from there. I mean, this one doesn't seem like it has too many pages. This is the Marlowe Murder Club. This one has 278, so that's kind of close. So we need something a little bit skinnier than this one. Oh, we've got Cursed Bunny. This is like a collection of short stories. Ooh, okay, I think this one might be it. It's at least closer than this one. This one has 251. I don't think we're gonna get anything closer than this one, so let's see what our next prompt is. We have another pick a word in a sentence prompt. I didn't realize I had 2 in here. So this one says, read the first sentence, pick any word, and find a book with that word in the title. Should I not do that one? Because we've already done a very similar one. We're gonna skip that one. So our next prompt is flip to a random page, point at a word, and find that word in a book title. Why do I have 3 of these same questions in here? To be fair, I did put this list together very quickly this morning, and clearly I did not pay attention to the fact that there's multiple of the same question, like same question, different font. Anyway, moving on. The next one says, pick something on the cover and find another book with that thing in the title / on the cover. This one does have one of the more simplistic covers. It literally just has a rabbit on it, which luckily I do know of at least one book that I have that has a rabbit on it. This also does have a hand, so I could do a hand book, which I do have like Night Bitch, which has a hand on it. But because the actual cover has a rabbit, I already do have a book in mind. So we're just gonna grab that one. That is easy peasy. Oh no, it doesn't have a rabbit on it. I was thinking of the Belladonna series. I thought one of these covers had a rabbit, but it's the 3rd book, Wisteria, that comes out in August that has the rabbit on it, not one of these ones. So, never mind on that. I don't think that I have anything else with a rabbit on it. So I guess we will be flipping to the back of this book and doing the hand. And that being said, we are gonna grab Night Bitch. This is another book that I bought purely because I thought this was like the coolest cover, and it is still one of my favorite covers of all of my books. However, I did not enjoy the book itself whatsoever. I don't even think I finished it. I think I might have a bookmark. Yeah, I stopped on page 133. How many pages does this have? You guys, this has 238 pages. So this might have been technically closer to our 244 page count for our last prompt. Oh well, we're here now. Anyway, so the next prompt that we have is find a book you would recommend that is similar. And I can already think of like 2 different choices that I can make for this book. So essentially this book is about a mom who is slowly turning into a dog, and the thought of that was very appealing to me. Like, I thought that could have been really fun. Unfortunately, I was hoping for more of like the literal sense of her turning into a dog, but this is more of like a symbolistic turning into a dog because she's like struggling with motherhood. So since I was not a mom and there was no actual animal transformation, I could not connect with this book whatsoever. So I just really didn't enjoy it. Again, didn't finish it. Also, this book did kind of start my very small kind of journey into literary fiction, which I very quickly, after a couple more books after this, realized was not for me. It was not my favorite genre. So with those things in mind, I do actually have 2 different books as options for this. So first of all, the option that I have that's kind of, I think, has like a similar vibe to this, where it's got somebody like transforming into something else. This one I haven't actually read though, so I don't know exactly if it's the same, but I have What Big Teeth, and I think this has a similar vibe. From the synopsis, it definitely seems like a book that could also be kind of more of like a symbolic change and not really an actual change. Again, I haven't read it, so I don't really know, but this could be an option. And then also the other option I was thinking is Big Swiss. And this one I feel like is similar because it has that same kind of like literary fiction type of writing style. It's basically just like a chunk of time in someone's life and there's no real rhyme or reason for it. I mean, there is like some plot points to it, but like I got bored basically. I definitely liked this one better than this one. I was able to actually finish this one, but I did like skim through the last like 50 pages or so because I was just ready for it to be done. So that being said, which one should I pick? Big Swiss or What Big Teeth? I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with Big Swiss because I've actually read this one, so I feel like it's more of an accurate comparison. Considering the fact that I didn't really enjoy this book, I'm a little afraid that this is like our last one and this is what's going to prompt the book that we're actually gonna end up reading. Last and final prompt is find another title with the same number of letters/words. I actually see one specifically that I'm pretty excited for that looks like it could be in the same realm. So again, the title is Big Swiss. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wasn't 8 one of the numbers from something else that we did earlier? Like another book that we picked? Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and move you over to my little baby TBR shelf and we'll pick the book that we're actually going to read. So here's our little mini TBR shelf, and the book that I was thinking right off the bat was this one. This is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 1 extra. But we also do have Wild Love, which literally has 8. So that's like right on the nose. My only issue with picking that one is I already kind of had a video idea planned for that book. Do we have other options? We also have Dust Storm, which is another cowboy romance, and honestly, a big clue to what that video is gonna be. I was gonna read these in the same video, so I kind of don't want to read those ones. And doing a quick little glance over the rest of my shelves, I don't think I have anything else that's close. I think Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood is gonna be our choice. Hi guys, hello. It's been a few days since the last time I talked to you, since we picked our book, and yeah, we gotta talk about this. So again, this is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is her most recent release. I think it was released last month, I'm pretty sure. It reminds me a lot of like a really popular rom-com from the 90s called You've Got Mail. Basically in that movie we have a independent bookstore owner and her business is kind of not being taken over, but she's like worried about the bookstore because like a big corporate bookstore is coming into her neighborhood, and her and like one of the corporate guys ends up meeting and they, you know, have a love story. Basically, it got me really excited to get into this book because this again has a very similar premise. This one is about Rue, which I love that name. She's a biotech engineer at Klein, which is a like startup food science company. Her world is stable, pleasant, and hard fought until a hostile takeover and its offensively attractive front man threatens to bring it all crumbling down. So we have Eli, who is the offensively attractive man, and he's one of the kind of like business partners of this company that's kind of like bought the loan to this startup. And because Rue is like best friends with the actual owner of the startup, not only does she feel kind of threatened job security wise, but just she feels threatened like for her friend because her business is kind of getting taken over by this other company. So very kind of like similar vibes to that movie that I was talking about. So going into this, I was very, very excited, and I gotta say, now that I am 280 pages in, I am really enjoying it. It's definitely different, a little different than I thought it was going to be. This book definitely has more kind of like somber tones, which namely comes into play with Eli and Rue's characters themselves, because both of these characters kind of have like troubled backgrounds, and that kind of comes into play with like how they've developed as adults and kind of how they interact with other people. And the actual romance between the two has definitely been very different than anything else that I've read. And I've actually seen a lot of reviews, not a lot, but I've looked kind of briefly over Goodreads to kind of get the vibe of like what other people are saying about this book, and they're not great. It's got like 3.7 stars, so it's not doing bad, but it is definitely the lowest rated out of all of the other books that I saw from Ali Hazelwood. So I don't think people are loving this one as much as her other books. But in my opinion, I'm actually kind of really liking the difference in this book to other, not only other Ali Hazelwood books, but also just romances like this in general, because it definitely has a different kind of tone. And again, the romance itself is like developing in a very different way than what I'm used to and what I've read with everything else. Like, this feels very unique. And I did actually write a couple of notes in my notes app over the weekend, so I'm gonna go over these really quickly to see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, okay, there is actually something that I missed. So basically you have the general kind of takeover of the company. There's also another thing that's kind of happening that's been hinted at going on behind the scenes, and where I'm at currently in the book, we're definitely getting closer to finding out what that is. And I'm gonna be a little devastated for Rue when that comes to light. Which also, Rue as a character, by the way, is very kind of like antisocial, and not antisocial in like a mean way, but just in like a awkward kind of way. And I gotta be honest, I kind of love that as a character. She's very blunt with like her opinions and is very honest and things like that, which also is another thing actually between Rue and Eli that I actually really love in this book. The open and honest, like sometimes brutally honest communication in this book is a miscommunication trope hater's dream. And I am definitely one of those people. I hate, absolutely loathe the miscommunication trope, because it's such like an easy thing to do. Like, just talk, especially to someone that you're romantically connected to. Just talk to them. I don't mind miscommunication in like little instances, because sometimes things are hard to talk about. I get that. But like when it's a common theme and it's just like, just you're struggle busing through the book because of it, it's just infuriating to me. But this book is the complete opposite. They are so open and honest with each other. It's crazy. And I am actually really, really loving that aspect of it. It's just, again, a very different take on your typical romance, and loving that. And with that, those are kind of like all of my thoughts that I have on this book so far. Again, we're on page 281, specifically the start of chapter 28. And also, by the way, we do have dual POVs in this. I say this like every time I read a book like this, but I love dual POVs in like romances. So let's get reading. And also eating. I am progressively getting hungrier and hungrier as I sit here and talk, so. Another thing that just happened that reminded me of something else that I am really enjoying from this book is the two characters, Eli and Rue, trade not embarrassing stories, but they're kind of like sad / like bad stories. So it's been kind of like a mix of things that has happened to them when they were kids in their childhood, things like that they've struggled with. But then there's also the occasional story of just like, you know, kind of like those intrusive bad thoughts that you have in your brain that you never tell anyone else, that kind of a thing, which has been a really interesting aspect to the story. So I've also been really enjoying that as well. Also too, just the way that Eli feels about Rue just makes me so happy. The things that he like thinks and like does for her is just so good. Rue, kind of circling back to them telling each other their like bad stories, she just said that she's going to tell him her worst story because Eli shared his worst story the night before, and now she's wanting to like, you know, return the favor. So I'm scared. She basically says that this one's not like the others. I don't think you'll be able to look past it, so I'll just tell you, and then ... then you can leave. What is it gonna be? I have officially finished Not in Love, and this was so good. I just feel very like warm and fuzzy on the inside. I can definitely understand why some people might not like it as much as your typical romance, but I think that's one of the reasons why I like it even more. I love Rue, I love Eli, I love them together. Like, this was a good book. I don't typically like to rate books right after reading them because I'm usually very much in my feels, and so I end up rating them a little bit higher than maybe I would if I gave it some time to kind of like really sink in. But I feel pretty confident in being able to give you a star rating right now because typically I like binge and like blow through books within a day or two. And this one I've been more kind of just taking my time with it. I've been reading it over the past like few days. Again, I picked this up on Wednesday and it's now Monday. So almost a full week I've given this book. I think the actual story itself is probably like a 4, but because I love Eli and Rue so much as characters, and because I do feel like their romance was more unique than your classic romance novel, I want to give it like a 4.5. It deserves a little bit more of a boost, you know? So those are my final thoughts. Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood, getting a 4.5 star. But anyway, that is everything that I have for today's video. I hope you guys have had the most amazing of days, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.